Hey, we're going to install a package, and I'm going to show you some of the basic things you'll need to do in the right order so that you can install your package successfully. Your bees will come like this, and they'll have a little plywood top on them. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the plywood top, and then we'll go from there. But we're going to save this piece of plywood so that we can control the bees by keeping them in the box. Right now we just want to remove the queen. There we are. So we're going to save this to put our lid back on after we pull the queen out. So if you look here, no bees have come out because there's a can of syrup here. Most packages come like this. So this can of syrup is what the bees feed on while they're being transported to your new location, to your new hive. So you don't have to worry about bees coming out at this point. Okay, so we're going to keep this handy. And now I'll put on the veil because it's no fun getting stung in the nose. Alright. Now, the first thing we want is the queen. Once the queen is placed in the hive, all the rest of the bees will go by her. Now, in order to get the queen out, you see this big cluster of bees is all on the queen. So in order to get them off, what we need to do is we need to bump the package to shake the bees off. Now, I've already given them a little bit of sugar spray, just like this here. And that gives them a little something to eat. And of course, it makes it harder for them to fly around. So when I do the bump, there won't be as many bees escaping at that time. So I'm just going to take this here and I'll get positioned on the ground so I can do this. Alright, so here's my queen cage. Your queen cage will be attached to this little tab, okay? So I loosen up the staple that holds her in. Alright, now if I drop it, I have to reach in and get it. So I don't want to do that, so I want to make sure I hang on to it while I give them this bump. So I hold them up about this high and then bump down and pull the can of syrup out. Okay, so queen cage. Alright, and you see how I put that plywood back? That's so the rest of the bees don't come out. Now some are going to fly around, they're going to look for the queen. That's the first thing they want to do is find the queen. So here we have our queen, and it's easy to work when you don't have a lot more bees flying around. So the first thing you want to do is, I'll bring this a little closer, you want to make sure your queen is alive. So I want to take a quick look to make sure she's there, and I do see her running around, and she has some worker bees with her. Those are the attendant bees that take care of her. So everybody looks fine. If your queen is dead, you'll need a new queen. So the first thing you want to do once your queen cage is removed is make sure she's alive. And she is. And the way this will work now is when I place her in the hive, all the rest of the bees will cluster near her. In order for her to be released, there's a cork on both ends on most queen cages. Now you see this white candy is what she'll eat through in order to escape, and it takes about 2 or 3 days to eat through that. So I'll take the cork off on the candy side, and again you can usually use your hive tool to pry that open and just remove that cork off of the candy side, and then you can see the candy. Alright, that's how you want to do it. If you remove the cork on the non-candy side, she could release into the hive immediately, and sometimes the worker bees will reject her, but it takes about 3 days and they get used to her scent, her pheromones, and then you're all set. So now what we want to do is place her in the hive, and it's always best to place her in the hive between a couple of the frames. And in this case I'll actually have to remove a frame. So the queen will go in the hive, screen down. Okay, when I place her in, now this can be dangerous if you don't do it the right way, using a staple gun, because I'm going to staple the queen cage to one of the tops of the frame. So what you want to do is you don't want to shoot a long staple through the middle of the queen cage because you could accidentally kill your queen. What you want to do is just catch the edge of it right here and the other edge right on the wood, and that'll hold it in place. So I'll just position that right here, and one staple there and one in the back. And there's your queen. So all we need to do now is add bees. And when we come back in 3 days, we're going to check to make sure she got out of the cage okay. And if she didn't, we'll release her by removing the cork on the other end. By then it'll be fine. You can release her into the hive we'll add our 5th frame back into our 5-frame nuke. For now, we'll just keep that here. And what I have now is an empty super body, which I'm going to use to pour the bees on. If I don't use this, I'll dump the bees directly here, but they might start to spill over on both sides, out the front. So this is going to work almost like a funnel. So this goes on top, and I'll just make sure everything's lined up and ready to go. Got our package, and you see how that little piece of plywood came in handy? It keeps all the rest of the bees inside. So again, we're going to do a little bump just to get them down, and then we'll turn them over and form it. And there they go. The rest of the bees will find their way in right there. Put our feeder on. And that's all we need to do for now. So we'll let them calm down. They're going to work their way to the queen. And later on, what we'll do is we'll come back and we'll take out that super, that empty super that I used to pour the bees in, and we'll just take that off. We'll put the lid down all the way. So we may give them just about a half an hour to an hour just to settle down. We'll quickly remove that, put the feeder back down, and we'll add some of the sugar syrup water that came with our bees. Okay, and that's how you install a package. Thanks for joining us.